Hello and welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst of horror movies of all time and have a lovely talk about them, and occasionally, increasingly so, talk to some wonderful filmmakers about the new horrors they're releasing into the world. And this is just such an occasion. I am joined today by Jake Myers, writer director of Kombucha. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Andy.
Yeah, and we it's been long, well, it's been a long time coming, certainly in the number of hours that have passed, but not months and weeks since we first really wanted to get you on and come and chat to us. We saw you in passing and in the evenings when we were drinking but not holding microphones at FrightFest, where Kombucha had a remind me what level of premiere is this?
That was our international premiere, first time in Europe.
Wow, so European premiere, international premiere, so you'd only
Yep,
screened in the US up to that point, right?
correct.
Amazing. And I was really sad. I was just saying before we recorded, but I'll say it for everyone else's benefit. We weren't actually able to catch Kombucha live in a big screen, and I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't because I really enjoyed it. I'm not just saying that because you're here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I mean, we'll talk about Kombucha in full, but just an initial reaction. Obviously, you were there live at Fright Fest. You got to see it with an audience there on the big screen in London. How did that feel?
It was nerve-wracking. I had no idea how the comedy, how the horror would port over culturally. And I was so pleasantly surprised. I felt like the people, the crowd, the audience was so generous, and they laughed at the jokes and groaned at the gross out parts, and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was lovely. It was great.
And would you say, as someone who, like, you've had a US premiere as well, do you notice any difference between the audiences as a filmmaker now you've seen both?
Um, I think that the audience responses to the comedy were bigger in the US, which I thought was kind of interesting. Like big laughs at things that I didn't even know would land as big jokes. But I felt like the horror and the tension and the existential dread landed better in the UK.
Hmm.
So, I mean, mixed reactions, but I'm just so happy that it's finding an audience and that people seem to unfortunately relate to the subtext of the film.
Yeah, and we'll dive into all of that. It's an
Yeah.
interesting observation. I think it's probably true. I've not been to the cinema in the US as many times, but I think in general, our audiences in certainly UK audience, they tend to be quieter. When a film was on, you don't get so many audible reactions out of them. Um, but yeah, I think hearing the particularly in the subtext side of things, I think they will be really into that at the moment because certainly it's a lot of the public discourse at the moment as well, that's going on. But we'll dive into that before we talk about Kombucha itself, its evolution from a short film into a feature this year and so on as well. I want to know where it all went wrong with you, Jake. So of all the genres you could have got into, how did horror get its hooks into you?
Well, I started off doing some comedy videos. Like I made a couple of videos for The Onion. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah,
them,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, they're based in Chicago, which is where I'm from. And I I love a great horror movie. Like Stanley Kubrick horror films and like Get Out was something where I saw this transition where you can really talk about existential dread and these fears and these anxieties that we have in a way that feels like compartmentalized and healthy. And I just wanted to do more of that. I love it. I love making horror movies, and also um I love horror people. I
Hmm.
feel like they are just a really welcoming, weirdly well-adjusted community. And yeah, I love it. I love horror films and I love the people.
Yeah, it seems though those ways, isn't it? I mean, the two nicest communities I've ever encountered, online or otherwise, appears to be horror people and heavy metal people. So lovely, all of them.
100%. Absolutely agree on the heavy metal people too.
The kindest people. I've never been offered more help or advice when I've been at like a metal like film like music festival or something like that. It is a wild time.
Yeah.
Um, so and you're right, leaning into the fact that we're afraid of different things over the year. I don't know. when you grew up, Jake. I'm from certainly of an era where the things you were most terrified of growing up were possibly clowns, big fear of quicksand, obviously, because that could get you anywhere at any given time, and then just general strangers. And then we've seen it go through like little Asian girls with long hair has been a terrifying element for lots of people, and now it seems, certainly from a lot of the FrightFest lineup and horror in general this year, double booking and Airbnb is big on people's agendas of things that deeply terrify them.
Uh-huh.
Um, and losing your identity to corporate culture.
Uh-huh.
Um, so let's talk about then Kombucha itself. So it was a 2023 short, right? That began this journey. How did you first come up with that? Where did that begin? Did it come to you in collaboration with some of the people you worked with, or is it you just sat down and came up with?
Yeah, I met this writer based in Chicago, Jeff Backen, and he showed me three of his script ideas because he really wanted to partner up with a director, someone who he felt like could bring one of his visions to life. And I was reading through them, and then a sentient SCOBY that completely transforms a corporation and eats your creative dreams was something that I was immediately drawn to. I said, "This is so fresh. This is an elevated B movie. I want to do this. This is perfect." So I read through the script and we talked about ways that we can really make it satisfy a horror audience and also like ways that we can get it to producers and to investors so that they feel confident in this project as well. So we collaboratively wrote a 7-page script that in some way encapsulated all of the elements that we liked from the feature. And then after playing that 7-page or that 7-minute short
Hmm.
to a bunch of festivals, we realized what was working with the script. We realized what wasn't working with it. And we thought about how can we do something that will sustain people's attention for the duration of a feature. And we rewrote the entire story almost from scratch. Like it had all of the the same ingredients, like the same basic plot. But yeah, and Jeff was a wonderful creative partner to work with, and he ended up writing the whole screenplay and crafting the corporate language pretty precisely.
Yeah, and for someone who has a similar job, they really nailed the particularly very current the language that plays in those places. Obviously, we all know not all corporations and hashtag not all corporations, I guess, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of very familiar language and attitudes that are portrayed in the film. And I understand from your short you've carried over some of your cast as well, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Terrence and Claire were amazing in the short. I mean, the whole cast in the short was fabulous. Um, but I felt like Terrence can do this kind of bizarre thing that's a really hard quality to find. He can play that role straight in this world that's completely absurd. The world that like the weird corporate bubbles keep bursting in front of him, and he finds a way to be believable in this scenario. And I felt like Claire was really great. Claire McFadden was so great at putting you on edge the entire time. Like you're uncertain, you're anxious, and then she knows precisely the moment when to ratchet that up and just go full big villain.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
really, really effectively done. I want to be cautious about what I say about any particular moments because I don't want to
right.
drive anyone towards. I want people to go and see this and enjoy it for themselves. But some of the turns you get from the characters, and exactly as you say, like how Terrence in particular is able to play this completely straight the whole time, really, really believable. And did he is he a double threat? Was he singing for himself as well? Is he a guitar player? Or did he have to learn that for the role?
So he did an immense amount of prep for this role. Like he had all of the scenes boarded out in his office. He went in and he had like a little bit of familiarity with guitar and singing, but he ended up taking vocal and guitar lessons to make sure that he would actually perform really well for that song, the Midnight Special that he opens with. And I adore his commitment and he's a wonderful actor to work with.
And how did the song choices come about? Was it about what songs were available and licensable? Is it about what was it just was written in the script to begin with? Were they always the songs they chose?
It wasn't written into the script, but it was partially about license.
Mhm.
Midnight Special is an American folk song about emancipation and also about exploitive work. And it was perfect, you know,
Mhm.
and it was something that I felt like was important to bring up multiple times. And if you listen to the end credits, you might recognize my voice singing the last Midnight
Oh,
Special
so you get to
at the
join in as
very
well.
end.
I'm gonna have to revisit now and re-listen over those credits to see if I can see you joining in with that as well. And obviously,
Yeah.
huge Credence fan since the Twilight Zone movie, so excellent choice.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah,
also a huge Credence fan.
yeah.
And then House of the Rising Sun, this warning about this place that is seductive, and it's right at that moment where you're worried, is Luke going to get swallowed whole by the corporation? Another American folk song that I think was made famous by the Animals.
Hmm.
Um, and what was the last? Oh, Daisy Bell. Daisy Bell, which was my little Kubrick nod. I had to put one in there. It's the song that Hal sings as he's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, wonderful, wonderful songs, all with strong horror legacy, carrying on yet again. I mean, where else to take the like what you fed into here, and I don't think this serves as a spoiler, but you're creating almost another great boogeyman of the product world. There's a bodega somewhere in a horror universe where all of these products sit side by side on a shelf. You have your mother's secret kombucha next, obviously it'll be in a chilled section. You probably got pots of the stuff in there as well. The pharmacy's churning out injections of the substance and so on. You've
The
got
substance.
all these products coming side by side. Was it always I mean kombucha is very much in the zeitgeist at the moment as the real trendy in a very corporate world. My parents have kombucha in their fridge. They're always offering it to me, and I've always declined it because it looked gross. I'm now have an extra reason. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
But was it always going to be kombucha, or did you begin with, anything else that was consumable?
It had to be kombucha. Just the process of how kombucha is made, I think, is really interesting and grotesque. Jeff, still to this day, my co-writer hasn't actually had kombucha, which I think is hilarious. I'm someone told me it's good for your gut health, and down the hatch, sure. But I think it's hilarious seeing it appear on taps at all of these startups. And it felt like it was something of the now that it had to be kombucha. Someone suggested renaming the film The Drink, and I think that's in reference to what you're talking about,
Mm.
like stuff. But I thought, I I don't think that's going to work because of how contemporary kombucha feels. It feels like the new coffee that is powering all of these kind of like trendy startups where you're supposed to feel like family, but also mass layoffs are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're described as family in this corporate thing, but because much like family, you're obliged to spend your holidays with us. Um, um, so I mean, where to begin with this? I think it's a really interesting premise here, and again, I'm leaning into the information that's available in the synopsis here. So, Luke is your main character, and a lot of other characters you see are really at that crossroads at their life, or really at a point of contention where they have creative passions and they are creative people that have struggled to take their skills and their passions and be able to pay the rent or to move on successfully with their life. So they're kind of drawn into this corporate world. Um, where did that begin from with yourself and the writer? Was it something that you felt familiar with? Is that, talk to me about the background a bit, and why this script spoke to you quite so much as it did.
I'm still dealing with that. I think that tension is something that will plague creatives forever because any reasonable person won't become a filmmaker. you realize how much work it is, how like little financial reward there is. It's something where people ask, "Oh, this has to be so glamorous. Like, do you love it? Do you love every step of the process?" And it's like a lot of spreadsheets, you
Hmm.
know? And it's just an immense amount of work, but I have to do it. There's this like hole in me that I need to keep pursuing this to feel like I am this, I don't know, the true sense of myself, whatever that might mean. But yeah, I also feel like it's fighting away that instinct to just let the slimy version of myself take over, right? The one that's only concerned with money and only concerned with, not rocking the boat and making sure that everything is comfortable and that I keep the power structures exactly intact.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's represented wonderfully in the film as well. And we meet a few characters along the way that are on different sides of this as well. And I want to maybe lean into the mother of a character we see in the opening side. I haven't seen the short to comment. Is this a character that carried over, or is this an introduction as we made this a feature-length film?
This is a brand new character. And I felt like that whole dynamic, the mother-daughter dynamic, really added a lot, and it added something because the mother-daughter dynamic I felt like replaced itself again
Hmm.
with you know Tammy and Elise later
Hmm.
on, and I thought Shireen was fabulous. I'm so glad that we cast her as Tammy, and I thought that she did play this mom that was fundamentally like kind of an embarrassing mom,
Hmm.
but also like because her heart was in the right place, it ended up carrying through in this way where it gave the movie a sense of heart that I feel like it really needed.
Yeah, and like let's expand on the piece, the feeling and the emotional weight of the film. I think the relationships work very well. I always know when a film has got to me, not just because you're worried about the characters, but when you manage to feel embarrassed or uncomfortable for them as well. And there is a scene where Luke is at a bar and he said he's not going to be out, and then he runs into his partner at the same time, and you just like clinch. He's like, oh no, please, can everything
Uh-huh.
just go all right for this poor guy? Oh, wonderful. And then obviously you've written and produced the film and you've mentioned it beforehand. It is, yes, it is a horror movie, absolutely, but I guess this is from your background as well that you really leaned into the comedy side of things as well. Is that important to you as a filmmaker? We know how well horror and comedy blend, right?
Yeah, this is something that I talk from day one on set. I say, our North Star is going to be anxiety. We are going to just slowly step on the anxiety pedal until everything falls apart and the red door opens, and then we go into full emotional blowout. But until that point, we slowly step on that pedal, and it's going to result in a couple things. People do two things to relieve anxiety. They will either get scared, they'll have a visceral reaction, or they'll laugh to relieve that tension. So I feel like it's two sides of a similar coin. And I intentionally cast comedic actors because I feel like they can access that discomfort and that anxiety better than dramatic actors usually. So yeah, I feel like we have to blend those two. If we're going to make a film that in some way elevates a B horror plot line, because that's what it is, I mean, it is a creature feature body horror at its
Yeah.
core.
Yeah, and I've said before, I shall say again for anyone who didn't catch me at the start, I really enjoyed this, and I hope more people get a chance to see it. Speaking of, don't call it a segue, but obviously we've now had US and international premieres. Where can people catch it next? Be that festivals, be that on general release or streaming. Where should people be looking?
We're not allowed to talk about some of our festival releases that are happening in October, but I can say that it will be screening at Chicago Underground Film Festival. We did already sell out both nights, but I also can confirm that it will be available for rental in December of this year.
Wonderful. And then obviously that's what we can say right now. I guess more announcements will be pending. So, in terms of rental, is that US North American rent or is that international?
Um,
If
it's
we,
that's great question. It is 100% confirmed in North America, um, Germany, and the Middle East, and we have more announcements coming soon. I think those announcements are probably going to be made in the next month.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
if people are watching for those announcements, where is the best place to keep up with? We'll do our best to communicate what we can find out as we learn it, but things can slip through the net. So if people have listened to this and they're really keen on seeing kombucha when they can, um, where should they follow for the updates and the news?
Jackrabbit Media's Instagram posts updates on when things are being released. They're pretty good about that. Also, I'll post them on my personal Instagram at John Jacob Myers. Um, and I'm trying to think of where else. Hopefully word gets around.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly share all weekend, Jake, and then obviously if people want to follow those places as well, those numbers certainly don't hurt with those more followers when you were looking for the next project. And speaking of, what's next for you? Anything on the cards for next movie? I know you're probably very busy promoting this one first, but
Right.
where are your eyes looking at the future?
We do have a script. It is a horror feature slasher, and it was something where it was again a short film, a short proof of concept that we made that was for Crypt TV under the title Emoji Head. But it's about a mass killer, a woman who uses dating apps to hunt her prey.
Brilliant. We shall look forward to hearing more about that one. And actually, not to bury the lead here. We've mentioned shorts as a great feeding ground for your films then. Is there anywhere where people can watch Kombucha the short still today? Is it available anywhere?
Yeah, it's available on Crypt TV on YouTube. It's available on Screambox, which is Cineverse's platform. It's available on, I think, Roku TV and a handful of those other short AVOD platforms. But yeah,
Brilliant. Well, people can certainly check that one out. And if you unlike the kombucha itself, if you get a taste of the film of that name, that can whet your appetite for when it's fully released in the coming weeks and months, wherever you are in the world. Um, Now, Jake, I'm going to give you possibly the most difficult question of all, because I mean, although I won't be judging you for your answer, the world may. As a horror film creator, as a horror movie fan. Now, of course, we do a podcast here called the Horror Hangout, so I'm going to put this on you now. So imagine, if you will, you've got a mixed crowd. They're coming around to your place for a horror movie night. They're saying to you, Jake, you make horror movies. I expect you to put on the best one going. What are you screening for them when they come round to your house for your horror movie night?
oh, that's such a good question. That's such a great question. Because for me, if I'm going to watch a horror movie by myself just to like get excited about directing horror movies again, it would probably be a Kubrick, like a
Okay.
The Shining or a 2001: A Space Odyssey. Um, but if I have other people coming over, like
Hmm.
if I want to do something that I feel like will give them a sense of things that I really like, I mean, I'm so glad that I didn't watch this until after I directed Kombucha because I would have tried to copy everything, but the substance
Hmm.
just it was about perfect. It was just an amazing blend of comedy, of I mean, just gnarly body horror, and also it had that it dug into the zeitgeist in a way that I felt was about perfect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll get no argument from me on that one. And actually, I know you would maybe blush in saying it, but I think the two films would make a wonderful double feature.
That is a dream come true. That would be incredible to be on that same marquee.
Yeah, can you imagine you and Coralie up there announcing that you're doing this together, doing the Predator handshake before
Oh
the
my
film
gosh.
starts?
Yeah, I would get starstruck and act weird, but hopefully it happens. That'd be incredible.
Yeah. And again, I've never met or spoken to her, but you know, we'll call in a positive national stereotype. She's French and therefore looks incredibly cool all the time.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Um, Thank you so much for spending a little time with us, Jake. I know it's a holiday there, so I'm going to leave you to go and enjoy your holiday. Um, Kombucha, everyone, if you're listening, um, look out for it. You definitely want this on your watch list and want to watch. I enjoyed it immensely. So then all that is left for me to do is to thank Jake for joining me. Thank all of you for listening. And of course, our old friend Taj Easton for producing our wonderful theme music, Acast for hosting the show, and everyone else in between. Thank you very much, Jake. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so
Bye for
much, Andy.
now.
This was great.